Well, I got this fan back together, and it's doing okay. The coil is still working, the speed coil. It is old, it has got hot, but it seems to be functioning. What happened was they had bound it up so much that it couldn't get going, and when it couldn't get going, the voltage couldn't drop on the fan motor on the coil the way it should. So and that's probably been a issue going forward in the past too. But you see, it's turning fine. I've got it right now on, well, it's at 122 volts. Let me pull it back down just a smidgen. Okay, that's good. 121.5. So if I go to low speed, it starts right up. Now it is a noisy fan, but that's because it's a pressed motor and it's got an aluminum blade, and aluminum makes noise. But the motor's going to make some noise too because it's a pressed blade. I hope you can hear me okay. I know the fan is blowing a lot of wind, but I wanted to show you that it'll start up. Here, let me put it on oscillate here, and we'll start it again in a second. But you see how long it's coasting, even with the oscillator on. So we turn it on. That's low. I did straighten this out as much as I dare do, but it's doing fine. And I'm going to show a couple things that you need to know when you get the fan back. Now, of course, I got it facing away. In fact, I'm going to turn it away a little so you can hear me better than the air blowing through the fan, through the camera. Okay, so you see it's doing good there. If I go, I'm at 121 volts. If I go down, it's 58 amps. It's rated 0.8 is 0.57. It's 570 milliamps. Okay, so we'll shut it off, turn it on high. And you can hear a little bit of rattle, not much. Again, it's aluminum and it's a pressed case fan. It's drawing 0.72 amps at 121.5 volts. And it's jumping up and down around 0.71, 0.72. So that's really good. It needs to be under 0.80, and it's well under that. And it's oscillating fine. Okay. Let me show you some other things. Well, you can see I got the blade a whole lot better. The blade is it's turning pretty good, and it's about where it needs to be. Could use a little more, but it would take a machine shop to get that aluminum bent exactly perfect. But it's not rattling like it was. The cage has a little bit of bend to it, but that's not a big deal because on front view you don't notice that much, and it's not nowhere near the blade, and that's what's more critical. Okay, now when you get this in the mail, there's a couple things you need to know. One, the blade and the cage will be off. So the first thing you want to do, and I'm going to do the opposite just to show you. First thing you want to do is put the cage on. I'm sorry, the blade on. But when you put the blade on, what you want to do is line up, there's a flat spot in the shaft. You want to line up that screw with that flat spot. You want to push the blade all the way on. You see how much is sticking out, how much of the shaft is sticking out there? Okay. The blade actually goes into the housing here. So you want to push it all the way on and then pull it back just a smidgen, just enough so it's not rubbing on anything. It wouldn't be rubbing on anything anyway, but I recommend doing that. Push it all the way in and pull it back maybe a 1/16 of an inch, just a little, and then tighten the screw. Okay. Once you do that, then the next step is to get the cage on. The cage is takes a little finagling. You you kind of got to come in and turn it and just keep turning it. Don't force it. Wherever it binds, you back up, try again till you get it so that it flops on. Once it flops on, you'll know it's on. Then if it's upside down, it doesn't matter. However it is, once it gets over the blade, then you can easily turn it right side up, okay? And then you put this screw in on the top, and you put it in loose. You just put it in, so it's not tight. But you don't want it where it fall off, but you want it in where it's not tight. Then you'll have to pull these down and line them up one at a time. Pull it down, put the screw in, get it started so it's not going to fall out, but it's not tight. Turn the fan the other way. Repeat the process on this one. Get it in so it's in but not tight. Then come back and just snug it a little, all three of them. When you get them all snugged a little, then come back and tighten them one by one. And, spin the blade. Before you turn it on, before you plug it in, just spin the blade. Make sure it's nowhere near, make sure it's not rubbing, okay? And that'll take care of that. And then it'll work. But now I want to show you worst case scenarios, so bear with me with the camera here. Okay, this is where the fan has to do the most work, at this ridiculous angle, right? It's actually wanting to fall back, it's so far back, but that's intentional. I'm doing it just to show you. The fan has to lift itself up, all of its weight, up and down and back. Now watch when I put it on low. Look at that. That's on low. Remember, it wouldn't even run on low. Look at that. That fan is doing good. Now it's drawing a little more current because it's doing a little more work, doing considerably more work. But that shows how well the oscillator is working and how well the fan motor itself is working. If I go to high, no problem. It'll run at that angle, no problem. Current is still under 0.8. Okay? Alright, so now that's the worst case, lifting itself from below to up, down to up and down again. Now I'm going to flip it again. Bear with me with the camera. And we're going to lean it forward this time. Okay? Now it's worst case scenario the other way. And I wouldn't advise running the fan in these extreme angles. Don't do that. It's too much work for the motor. You'll just wear and tear the motor out so much faster. Get the fan high or low, wherever you need it, so that you're pretty close to straight. I mean, you can go a little, but I wouldn't go these extremes. I'm just demonstrating the fan. Now see, that's low. Again, it has to pick itself up and then swing itself around. Again, the current's a little bit higher, but not much. It's still pretty close to what it was on low. And you see it's not having any problem from a dead stop on low at that angle. Okay, now I'm going to put it on high, of course, no problem at all. A little more rattle because, you know, it's working. And again, it's a little, about 0.72, still about the same. Okay, so you see how the fan works at those extremes, and even on low. They had the motor bound up really bad, and so, like if I, well, let me bear with the camera again. Get it back to sort of level here. Okay, if I take the under the oscillation here, okay, see how well it turns? I mean, that's the way it should be. If I put it on low, let it get up to speed. Takes a little while because that coil is weak, but it gets there. Now if I shut it off, watch how long that blade spins. And that's from low. That's the way a fan should turn. So it's in good shape, it's doing fine. If you really wanted to straighten this out more, you could take it to a machine shop, but you're going to end up having to paint it again because they will scuff it up a lot. We tried very gently to not hurt the paint, to take it apart and service it. Did the best I can. You might find a nick or two here or there. I apologize for that. It's just the nature of the beast. You got to get in it, right? And these things are sealed tight. In fact, the way you open them is with a razor blade. You have to take a razor blade, put it on the seam between, because it's a pressed case, you have to put the razor blade on the seam here and smack it with a rubber mallet to get that case to open. Once you get the blade in, then you smack it around and it'll eventually pop open because it's a snap-on case. It's pressed metal. It's not like cast iron, right? So they're a pain, and taking them apart, you know, you're going to hit little nicks and stuff, but there's nothing I can do about that. I was as gentle as I can. So just be aware of that, but, you know, overall it looks great. I mean, the fan looks incredible. I was able to do it without doing too much issue. The bigger issue is the shipping, right? But we got that taken care of. The blade's fine. It's as balanced as it needs to be for this fan, you know. When you first start it on, you'll notice some jittering as it's picking up speed. That's just fluctuation in the power. It's fluctuation in the fan not being exactly perfect. And I'll demonstrate that. Watch. Not so bad. Actually, that was pretty good. Let's try dead stop on high, where it's got a lot more torque. Okay, I'll flip it on. A little bit, not bad. Not bad, it's actually doing really well. So I will pack this back up and get it ready to go back. Again, the blade and the guard will be in a separate package. And so, you know, let me go ahead and mount this camera, and I'll show you. I'll take the blade and guard off and show you how that process goes. I'll be right back. Okay. So hopefully I won't be in the way too much. You'll get to see what I'm doing. Let's see if we can get the camera facing better. Okay. All right. I recommend getting a long shaft screwdriver, at least that long. That's about, what, 5 inches? Plus the handle is about 5 inches. And the reason being, you got to get down to that screw, right? Now, I'm going to show you that you can do it with a small screwdriver. It's just not as easy. You see, you kind of got to use the tips of your fingers to get to it. But just so you can see that it can be done, you loosen it up. Okay. All right, but I'm not going to take that off first. I'm going to take this off. And you probably need a small screwdriver here. You could use a longer one, but so I'm going to just take that off. There, on this particular fan, there's a lock washer and a screw. The lock washer goes on the screw first, and then the screw goes in. Okay, just so you know that's how that goes, where the lock washer goes. Don't worry about the guard moving until you take the last screw out. It is going to move a little bit because there's pressure on it. Okay, but once you take the last screw out here, then you're going to want to balance the guard because it will fall, right? And you don't want it to fall on the blade. So what I do is get it loose and then just kind of grab it. See what I mean by it falling? And you kind of got to balance it. If you got another set of hands around, that will definitely help you get that off. Okay, now this will all come off together when you need, if you need to take it off. You just loosen that. But I took the blade off because I wanted to show you how to assemble it when you get it back. Okay, so it's going to be like this. The screw's going to be in. Yeah, it's fine. It's not too tight. If you might want to check and make sure to look in there and make sure the screw's not sticking down, because I may have to screw it in so it don't get lost in the package. I might screw it in. You have to screw it out a little. Here you see the flat spot on the motor, right? You can see that right there. See it? So you want that? I put it facing up. It makes it easier, and then I know I'm lined up. Put the screw in the same direction. Try not to let the shaft turn. Just go straight in. Now you see I went all the way in, and then I back it up. Just not that much. Just about there. Just a little. And then tighten that screw down. And it'll adjust it into that flat spot. As long as you do what I said, go all the way in and come out just a little, you're in that groove. Okay, and then, check it, it's fine. Okay, now, to put this on, what I was saying is it's a little tricky, right? And I'm going to do it randomly, so just to show you. But basically, you go behind, with these pots that screw to the motor, you go behind the blade. So I'm basically getting the blade inside the carriage. And you just flip it around gently and see it goes right on. And once you got it on, you can straighten it out. Just keep the blade inside the cage, see? And then, like I said, just start with the top one. Get it started by hand's fine. Just make sure you go a couple turns so that it's in there. And then take the next screw. Like I said, you'll have to pull a little bit to get it lined up and put it in by hand. Okay, and you do that with all three, then snug them up, and then go around and tighten them, and you should be fine. Spin the blade by hand, make sure it's spinning, not touching anything, then you're good to go. So hopefully that helps you, and I will be shipping the blade pretty soon, again in a separate box. So thank you.